concerned should we be about Harper's back? Because a couple things, it is springtime. I mean, they are just kind of working themselves in. There's no reason to push it, and you certainly want to allow a guy to work through maybe some early spring issues. But this has been something that has caused him to miss time, to force him out of the lineup, and he hasn't played very well this spring. He hasn't hit well at all this spring. And again, we've been kind of just looking at some of these spring numbers from the veterans and being like, meh, it's spring. But Bryce Harper, the last time he played in a spring training, hit 8 home runs. He has 0 home runs so far this spring. I think he's hit like 3 fly balls. Everything else has been on the ground. He has a slugging percentage under 300, and now you're hearing about some back issues. It's just a little bit of concern there, I think, from fans. And even though Rob Thomson says his concern level is 0. Justin, I wonder what your concern level is, because mine is greater than 0.
Non-zero is a good place to start. As you said, Thompson's is also not 0, no matter what he says. But also, these are all guys who are entered into their 30s. Back stiffness is... I woke up with back stiffness today, and I also was not in the Phillies lineup.
Yeah.
So there is that aspect of it. But, at the same time, it's starting to get a little weird that there have been no Bryce Harper home runs yet this spring. We talked earlier this preseason about how we look forward to the part of the preseason when Bryce Harper would just be hammering these poor, pathetic pitchers on their way to the minor league camp and just kind of like playing on easy mode the way he typically does. And we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that from a lot of people, and I think we're past that point now. It's St. Patrick's Day where you can start looking at the numbers and being like, well, this is disappointing. I don't really enter into hysterics outside of like actual emergencies when it comes to spring training, but we all see the numbers and they're not very good. And for no one is that more foreign than Bryce Harper, who just hasn't been treating the Grapefruit League like batting practice like normal, and that's starting to be a little more noticeable. So to hear back stiffness, an issue that he's dealt with before, kind of surface as an issue here, it's not super surprising. You're almost kind of thinking like, what's going on? Something's going on. I mean, they pulled Schwarber with groin tightness the other day. I was hoping this would be like the same kind of thing, but it's Harper and it's his back, and they're gonna kind of need him moving forward. So I think we're entering the concern window of Phillies training camp, where people it's not as easily dismissible to say, well, it's just spring, it's spring. Like, it is to an extent, but you want one of these guys to just start hammering the ball.
Yeah.
Somebody start hitting the ball who's going to be on the team come opening day, and it would be great if that was Harper. But I think the best thing they can do is remain not hysterical until there's a reason to become hysterical, and I can see why Thompson's reaction was what it was.
Yeah, Liz, Thomson is clearly trying to tamp down the worry. He says Harper will be ready by opening day and will be playing by the end of the week. But I don't know how you can say that definitively when somebody's dealing with back tightness. You can say you're optimistic, but, that's interesting. But I think the larger point here, too, is, and Justin hit on this a little bit, the Phillies entered this season with the idea and the plan that Bryce Harper is going to play first base pretty much every day. And if Bryce Harper, if his back is not letting him do that, then we've got a real problem here. And I know one of the things that happened last August, when Harper had to sit out a couple of games with back stiffness, when he came back, he only came back because he was able to DH 14 out of the next, I think it was 20 games. He didn't, and then he really didn't play first base on back-to-back days in consecutive games until essentially the last couple weeks of the season and then through the postseason. Now, he got through that fine, but you're talking about a full season of Bryce Harper at first base, and now with this back stiffness popping up, and it's been a thing that's worrisome in the past, so much of what the Phillies were planning to do here in 2024 was predicated on Bryce Harper playing first base. So what's your level of concern as far as Bryce Harper's back stiffness and what it could mean to those plans?
We didn't really think too far ahead, did we, with a lot of these plans? But we made a lot of assumptions, I think, about Bryce Harper. Forgetting that he is, like all of us, human, and that back problems have plagued him at various times. I think the one thing that we've probably been missing is that he's had back tightness for a while and has probably resisted sitting because it's spring and who cares. But he actually has, he's actually not been in the lineup. And that's at least a sign that everyone's taking it more seriously now because he hasn't been producing, and there's got to be a reason behind that. And it only makes sense at this point that it's some kind of back issue, because that impacts his swing as much as anything. I have persistent back problems, and I can barely move.
Yeah.
He has to swing a bat, and he has children that he like picks up and plays with. Like, that's all, like, he has a lot to do, Bryce Harper. So I can understand his resistance, but he's sitting out, and I think that's at least a good sign, because it is 10, I guess by the time people are hearing this, it's 10 days until opening day. And that's some time. It seems like it's close, but that's a lot of time for Bryce Harper to sit and to get his back in line before the season starts. And when the season starts, then we can deal with that. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves right now.
Would you guys like to, speaking of getting too far ahead of ourselves,
Great.
would you guys like to do exactly that?
Stop it.
I'd love to.
And imagine with me a very hilarious April twist in which Harper is relegated to a DH role. Jake Cave is the Phillies starting first baseman or something. And
Or
Rhys
something.
Hoskins goes on like a 15 home run tear in the opening month of the season. Can you imagine how reasonable and mentally sound that would leave people who watch the Phillies?
Wow.
That is
could happen,
truly
too.
the funniest outcome. That's exactly it. You have imagined the funniest outcome. There isn't anything that could make it better/worse.
Funny in a dark way to
That's
imagine.
exactly what I mean.
When it happens, I will also not be laughing along with everyone else.
No,
no, we'll be laughing, but it'll be with the
Ooh.
crazy eyes.
that's Tim Burton-esque is what we're looking at.